Let's start with this. This is sent from Joe from Florida. He sent this to me today, and I said, okay, I'll add it to the news. So, and this is another reason why transparency is a good thing, right? And why collaboration and crowdsourcing wisdom is a good thing, because we can get together. You can send me articles like this, and we can talk about these things. So again, this one's from Joe from Florida. Thank you for sending this out. This is reported by National Review, and we talk about China quite a lot on the other show, and also on this show as well, because there's a lot that's happening with China worldwide, right? Some of the things that they're doing, and oddly enough, that really just doesn't get a lot of press for some bizarre reason. It's they're doing some exciting things with some of their space travel, and they're also doing some really nefarious things with buying up property in Canada and United States, and then the ports and some other things. There's some really weird stuff happening. So anyway, let's read part of this. The National Review reports that the coming global backlash against China. And let's just read a little bit of it and get what's going on here. So the Chinese Communist Party's leader, Xi Jinping, is the most powerful leader in communist China since Chairman Mao. Yet Xi's outward strongman image is a veneer over his inner insecurity. When he came into power in late 2012, China's economy had slowed down from double-digit growth to single-digit growth. The mass working age population, which had been the engine of China's economic growth, has begun to decline. The Center for Strategic and International Studies, a Washington, D.C. based think tank, D.C. and think in the same sentence, that's just, well, I tell you what. Anyway, projects that by 2030, China will round out its thinning labor force by hiring workers from abroad. At the same time, according to Mark Haas, a political science professor at Duquesne University, I don't know how to say that, China alone in 2050 will have more than 329 million people over 65 years old. Consequently, China is expected to be the first major economy that will grow older before it achieves widespread prosperity. So that's a problem for China, right? So without its demographic dividend with an aging population, China's economic growth will further slow down at the time when the government needs to keep its growing middle class from demanding a level of political freedom matching their newfound wealth. An aging population would also force the government to allocate more natural resources for elder care and social services, which means there will be fewer resources to compete against the U.S. This is probably one of those the most important reasons why Xi feels that he has to abandon the so-called strategic patience guidance issued by Deng Xiaoping, the paramount leader of China from 1978 to 1997, who instructed his comrades to bide their time and avoid any confrontation with powerful external forces until China was in a much stronger position, both economically and militarily. Okay, so there's a lot happening here, right? So there's a lot happening with China, and again, we talk about it often, and the mainstream, for some reason, they just don't cover this. They don't talk about these things, right? It does hit the internet in articles like this, but it doesn't actually end up in like just kind of by comparison, think of it this way. If you have Russia and China, right, and over the last, let's say 4 years, just cherry picking some time span here, like what kind of press has Russia got, right, about how terrible they are and how all the awful things. And I'm not discounting it. Yes, Russia does a lot of terrible things, okay, but also China's doing a shit ton of terrible things too, as is the United States and many other governments, okay. So don't get me wrong, I'm not trying to say good, bad, this way or the other, but I'm just saying that if the governments of the world start to see China as a threat, there is going to be some sort of backlash. Supervike What's Up says that they deserve backlash. I kind of agree in many cases here. They break a lot of rules internationally. That South China Sea thing where they're building the islands there and actually fortifying them with military. There's a lot that they're doing. The human rights abuses, and not just in mainland China, but in Hong Kong, the Taiwan thing. There's so many things that China does that I think if the world doesn't stand up to them soon, they're going to be the bully of the world. I think that's the thing here. That's the real problem, and why it's not really being addressed for some reason. Again, because they're paying everybody off, right? Like everybody's in debt to China. I think that's part of the problem. So here we go. Let's read a little bit more of this. Xi, however, believes that China can't afford to bide its time any longer. It must replace the liberal world order with a Sino-centric world. World order before China's population becomes too old and the Chinese economy becomes too stagnant. However, rather than furthering economic reform and opening up more sectors to foreign investment and competition to strengthen its economy, Xi chose to hide China's weaknesses and exaggerate China's economic strengths. He emphasizes self-reliance and utilizing China's resources to pump up national champions or state-owned enterprises that could compete against global leaders in strategic sectors. Xi feels that nationalism is his new trump card, something he can use to motivate, excite, and unite 1 billion people, all the while strengthening the CCP's rule over them. And so that's an interesting thought right there, because, again, once you have a country like this where the middle class is growing and becoming more powerful, you're also trying to find ways to undermine them and keep them from becoming too powerful, because those are the ones that will overturn the country at large, right? There's a lot going on with China. This is a fantastic article. It goes on and discusses other things regarding this, but they're kind of at a crossroads, and they have like we said, the aging population, which of course ends up on government health care on the back end, more expenditures, less help for the for competition, and buying up ports the world over, and buying up parts of Africa and parts of North America and everything else they're doing. Let's see what else. What's up? We got some folks in chat. Thanks for showing up. Okay, so I think that's the thing, right? This is one of the things we need to watch out for. We're going to continue to talk about China. Like I said, nothing is ever like binary good and binary bad. There's so many in-betweens. The truth is always a gray area. Yes, China is doing some good things. China is also doing a shit ton of terrible things. Okay, and so we're gonna keep talking about that, keep looking at it, and just as an example, here's one example. Nobody talks about it, and so we do. And so if you tune in wondering why, even on Troubled Minds, why we don't do a ton of Orange Man Bad or some of this other stuff that everybody else does, yeah, no shit. Trump is a knucklehead, right? He does a lot of really dumb stuff, but really, when the whole world's covering it constantly, why do we have to? It's just dumb. It's literally just piling on garbage on top of garbage, right? So anyway, that's what this is about. And let's look at we'll keep an eye on China as this develops and does its thing, because they continue to meddle. They continue to meddle with the NBA stuff. You remember how they're going to boycott the NBA, and LeBron James wouldn't stand up for freedom and all this other garbage. Like I said, as a world, our priorities are just not straight. Everything's upside down, and instead of human rights, we just shrug our shoulders at that and be like, well, go ahead and round up the Uyghurs and put them in camps. Nobody gives a shit. Just keep that sweet NBA money coming. Make sure